Hello and welcome to Airheads, that's Air with a Y. My name is Jack Dempsey and I'm joined today by John Pittendry and we're going to review the weekend's sporting action, kicking off the Six Nations in damp Paris.
On a Friday night.
On a Friday night, yes. Friday night in Paris.
An interesting time to
interesting time and a very interesting game. Yes. So you didn't catch the game.
I didn't, unfortunately.
Didn't
No, so I'll be relying on you to give me the highlights.
I'm going to highlights, yes. So there's plenty of those, in strange ones.
Okay.
So France, bit of a rough lead up to the game. Lost most of their autumn internationals, whereas Wales were on a 9-win match-winning streak. And so you're thinking, okay, probably Wales are favourites, but still, it's France and Paris. They've got class players. They're just a bit disorganised. Right. You never know what could go on, and that's the way it started. France played really well in the first half. Scored a couple of tries, one by Mr. Yoann Huget. Remember that name?
Okay.
They got off to a 16-0 lead. Should have been more. Could have, should have, if they got some of their kicks in. And so second half starts much the same way. Good defence by France. Wales really aren't going anywhere, but this Wales is still a class side. They managed to give an inside ball in, and Thomas Williams goes not under the post, just next to it, and suddenly Wales are got 7 points out of nowhere pretty much. They've been completely out of the game at that point. So, you know, the logical thing, no panic stations. No. Okay, they've been playing really well. The defence has been solid. Just one really, really good piece of play by Wales. This is from France's perspective. Okay. So just keep playing the way you're playing. But instead, all hell breaks loose in the French ranks. Wales put a kick into the France try line, and rather than dotting it down, Mr. Huget, as previously mentioned, just completely fumbles the ball, and George North scores. Later on in the game, when France are desperately chasing the game, French lock, I think it was Vailamaina, chucks an insane pass out wide, and North just easily picks it off, goes in under the posts.
Basically, there's two versions of the French team. There's the classic one where they're actually very good at the game, and then there's the other classic where they're actually just chucking it around randomly, hoping for the best. Yeah,
hoping for the best. The funny thing is, normally they space those out over a couple of games. This time they decided to just congest it into 1-2 halves. Yeah. So it was just emblematic of where France are at the moment. Wales got away with one. They showed enough class, and it's George North. You know, he's an amazing player, so you can never write them off, certainly. But that first half, you were thinking, oh wow, France back, and Wales are playing terribly. But instead, somehow Wales come away with a 24-19 victory, and they'll probably be counting their blessings after that one. Moving on to a game you did see.
I did see, yes.
Scotland versus Italy.
You were at Murrayfield.
I was at Murrayfield. You were in the living room?
I was in the living room, yeah. I was in there, you were in Edinburgh. So.
In Edinburgh, yeah. A sold out Murrayfield for an Italy game, which is saying something. It's quite good. That's 2 in a row now. Yep. But in the past, when Scotland were down in the dumps, it wouldn't have been like that at all. Overall, I'd say a good victory.
Yeah, I guess up until the last 10 minutes, Scotland looked like, they were cruising to it, and then suddenly defence mistakes, and you're like, okay, maybe there's a chance it might be a bit of a tight finish, but we managed to pull over the victory.
I know. I don't know whether it was the replacements, like they had a whole bunch of raft replacements coming on, or whether they thought that the game was already run and they just completely switched off. Either way, I don't know. I think it might be a good thing. It might be a wake-up call at the end of like a game that they'd won comfortably to go, actually, wait on a second, you have to be on the ball for 80 minutes. Yeah. Especially next weekend against Ireland. We'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
Because speaking of Ireland versus England.
Yeah, well, in Dublin, you'd think that, home advantage.
Home advantage,
Ireland
just beating New Zealand, but no, England were class. I think, they were. I mean, they got off to a really early 7 points. Ireland did get back into the game, to be fair to them, and you're starting to think, okay, now they're going to start exerting themselves, but no, really, they
fell away.
They won it, I think, comfortably. Honestly, they were
in the end, which doesn't really bode well for Saturday.
Doesn't bode well for Saturday. It doesn't bode well for France at Twickenham, and it doesn't bode well for us against Ireland in a funny other way, because it means that Ireland may have shaken off some rustiness and will have added incentive to win that game.
So it's not only that they lost the first game, so they might want to try and rectify that mistake. And they are quite a passionate side, so
passionate side. Loads of class players. They've got a few injuries. Big CJ Stander, who was their main ball carrier, he's off, and a few others as well. I've forgotten off the top of my head. But still, they're a huge side. Scotland's going to have their work cut out. So sorry for fans at home if you were wanting any encouragement about the Saturday. You can't just.
We're quite negative. It's in our nature.
Trying to be negative, yeah. I don't know if you've been following Scottish rugby for the past 10 years, but it's only natural. But yeah, so that's all the Six Nations done.
That's rugby,
dusted.
yes.
Scotland are top of the table.
Woohoo!
See how long that lasts.
That's a rarity.
But the final big game of the weekend was the Super Bowl.
The
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Technically, it was right at the very end of the weekend.
Yeah, so
it's
well,
just-
Yeah,
just like
Monday morning,
you
yeah.
know.
So weekends, but yeah, it was Patriots versus the Rams, perennial finalists. Patriots versus newcomers, the old versus new. You've got Belichick versus Sean McVay. You've got
A veteran
Tom Brady
against a
versus Jared
novice,
Goff.
so-
And, yeah, exactly. All kinds of interesting matchups. The best defense in the league versus well, maybe not the best attack in the league.
Quite a
but
lot
one
for a
of, yeah.
neutral to get their teeth into, like just from the atmosphere
the story
around the
around
game,
it,
you
yeah.
know, rather than the
Yeah.
actual game itself.
Yes, which for those who didn't see it was 3-3 at halftime, ended 13 points to 3
The
in
lowest
Patriots'
scoring
favour.
game at halftime in Super Bowl history, which is rather depressing with the amount of money they actually pump into it.
Yeah, well, depressing. I don't know. I would say, well, it's a rugby term, but one for the purists. If you're at all fan of defense, it was a great game for that. The defenses
Definitely.
were both on top. You know, maybe there's a bit of inexperience by Jared Goff, but Brady versus the Rams defense was a hell of a matchup.
That's an interesting because he usually dominates if he has a good game. He actually
Yeah.
finds ways around the defense, but not so much.
Yeah,
with the
no, he
Rams.
called a couple of timeouts because he literally didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. You know, the Rams had him a bit perplexed sometimes, so that was McVay and the defensive coaches have got
Quite
to take
impressive.
some praise for that. But in the end, inexperience lost. Goff just couldn't get the
I think it's
Rams
just
running.
because the Patriots ground them down. It wasn't so much that
Yeah.
England Patriots had more skill or were superior. It was just because
Yeah,
eventually
they'd been there
exhaustion
before,
comes
and,
into it. You know,
Or they'd been there before, they knew what they were doing.
True,
And one of them
yeah.
was exhaust the Rams defense and just eventually you'll get through. Edelman had a really good game.
he
Got
was
a
the only
couple
one that
of
drove
really
the
good-
Patriots forward. So really,
Pretty
yeah.
much the only one. Yeah, they couldn't get the running game going
No,
because the
not at
Rams
all.
defense was good. But yeah, overall, Patriots win again.
That's getting really boring
Yeah,
saying
it's
that
getting
every
a bit-
year. You know,
Yes, absolutely. But no, they deserve the win. And you know, Rams really young coach Sean McVay.
so there's an opportunity for him to probably get into the Super Bowl final in the future.
In the
and
future, yeah,
use
if
that
they
as
can get some key
experience.
players,
You know,
keep that defensive set
Yeah.
up, and then maybe get some nice wide receivers or something.
see what happens.
And more experience for Jared Goff, yeah. So there you go. Okay, and now we'll just take a quick look at the weather. Get it up on screen for you there, and yeah, it's miserable, as tends to be the case. So pack your bollies, put your big rain jackets on, and just pray for better weather in the future, even though
It's Scotland.
it's Scotland and your
It's just
praise are unlikely to be answered. Yes, lots of wind coming through, so plenty to stay indoors for,
Batten down the
including
hatches.
Six Nations
Yeah.
next weekend, Scotland versus Ireland, and then you've got a big matchup, England versus France at Twickenham
be
on
interesting,
Sunday, and Wales versus Italy. Well, hopefully we'll get some good tries out of that. If nothing else, I don't see Italy coming back. But anyway, that's we'll end on that note. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for joining me, John.
It's quite alright. It's okay.
And yeah, we'll see you next week.